Okay guys, now today's going to be a tutorial on how to polish your gas blowback slide rails. And your whole slide if you wanted to, but I'm just doing my rails, so hope you guys enjoy. Okay, to start off polishing our slides, we have 1000 and 2000 grit sandpaper. You can use anything in between and anything higher than this. I'm just using 1000 and then 2000 because it's pretty expensive, so I only bought two kinds. Simple Airsoft lubricant, 100% silicone. Metal polish, I bought this for $5 at Walmart, just Mother's brand. Some microfiber cloth, some finer cloth to polish the metal. You don't want to use a normal towel for this. And then just a rag to wipe stuff off. Also water to clean the slide off a little bit before we start doing it. You don't need to do too much, just enough to wipe all the gunk off. One thing I'd like to take the time to point out right now, guys, is that you want to use 3M wet or dry sandpaper with a minimum of 1000 grit. You can pick this stuff up at a local auto shop usually, but the reason you want to use minimum of 1000 is because if you use anything lower than that, you're going to actually start taking material off of the slide and the frame, so you're going to actually start experiencing some wobble. So I just wanted to point that out so it didn't damage your guns, but keep watching the video. Thanks. Okay, so to go a little more in depth in the sanding process, you're going to want to take your frame and your slide, take all the parts that you can out, mainly just take most of the parts of the slide out, so you only have the little gas flow valve and the feeding nozzle, and you can just leave the lower slide, or the frame as it is. You're going to want to start by sanding with the you're going to want to start with cleaning it, but then you're going to want to start with the 1000 grit sandpaper and a little bit of Airsoft lubricant. Just start sanding all of that in small circles, or just lines like that. I used really tiny pieces because I didn't want to scratch the paint job on my gun because I liked it a lot, but really small pieces. Do it really carefully so you don't scratch anything, but just slowly sand all of the rails on the gun. So the rails are right there, inside of there, so that little groove, and inside of both these little grooves, and on top of those. You're going to want to be careful to not sand those two little nubs, because those are kind of elemental in the trigger and the hammer, so you really don't want to sand those, but just be careful and you should be fine. I sanded a little bit of the grip safety, or the lever safety, or whatever that is, so that's okay. No one's perfect, but you want to sand that, and then on the slide you want to sand the slide rail on the bottom, and then I only sanded on the inside because inside of this groove right here would have been a pain in the butt to do. But once you sand it with the 1000 grit and some Airsoft lubricant just on the sandpaper a little bit, you're going to want to go to clean it, so just wipe down anything else, and then you're going to want to go to the 2000 grit and then use the Airsoft lubricant again, sand it down, make sure everything's smooth by just feeling it and feeling any places where you didn't get. But once you're done with that, then you want to wipe it down again, just a damp rag. You don't have to have it soaking wet, just a little tiny bit of water just to wipe anything off. From there, you're going to want to use your metal polish and metal polishing rag, and you're just going to want to buff out all of the parts that you sanded so it's really, really shiny. If you got the metal polish, again, you don't have to, but I got to make it look nice. You can see it's a really nice mirror finish on all of the metal that I sanded. But from there, wipe it down with the clean part of your rag, and then you use a little bit of Airsoft lubricant, as you would normally even if you didn't do this, and then you're done. And you can tell right away that that the slide has such a smoother, like I can move it with one finger, it's just really, really smooth to the touch, and it feels like butter almost. It's just, this metal is just super, super smooth, and you can definitely feel it when you're shooting the gun. When I went to shoot it the first time, I could feel the slide. The kick wasn't necessarily less, it was just, again, a lot more smooth. It's a really weird thing to describe until you've actually shot it, but you can definitely notice it, and it looks a lot nicer too when you're done if you did a good job with it. 4 hours watching a YouTube video while I was doing it to not get really bored, but it takes a while, but it's worth it. So you can see I'm just disassembling the gun right here, I'm sure whatever gun you have, handgun or whatever, you can find a disassembly video on YouTube for it, but I'm just getting it down to the slide and the frame. So when you start sanding, you're going to want to start with the 1000 grit sandpaper and the lubricant. So the goal for that is to take most of the black stuff off, and you want to be a little bit careful with the sandpaper, because I worked in really small strips because I wanted to be very careful and not scratch the paint job on my gun. But you can see I'm just starting to, I cleaned it first and then I'm fitting it to make sure I'm sanding the right places, and then I'm using the 1000 grit, and then you want to wipe it off. Once you're confident that you've done a good job and you can feel it, then you move to the 2000 grit, and then once you're confident in that, wipe it off, and then you bring out the polish and then bring out the shine in the metal. You don't have to do that, it just looks really nice when you do it. But when you shoot the gun, you're going to really be able to feel the difference. The blowback and the kick isn't necessarily harder, it's just a lot more smooth and controlled. It's a little bit hard to describe. But that's about it. It's pretty easy. It's not that hard of a thing. It seems really daunting, but it's really not. It took me about 4 hours, and I was watching a YouTube video, so I didn't get really bored while I was doing it. But yeah, I'll post a shooting video after this, and watch out for a recoil spring guide installation video and just a review on the handgun. So finish out the video. Hope you guys enjoy.